You say it's a big bit. DJ. No, I want a book. A book. Bound book. I don't want like that.
Oh, a small one?
No, it's hard to read.
I make them to order.
Oh, right. No,
Yeah,
they're in this one.
yeah, there is one in the shop. But they're quite pricey.
How much is pricey?
I'm selling it for $45.
Oh my God.
But I could reduce the price.
What is the cost price? I'll give you extra, but $25 is.
I know that, but it's explaining.
Yeah, I know it's yours. We're generating money for it. Anyway, it's all right.
No, it's okay. I will go and get it and it's like A4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the same as the book.
Yeah.
It's got 220 pages in it.
We're going to put that in the fridge.
I started aligning to get it out.
Well, I'm just going to put it in the fridge.
Okay.
It's probably better.
Okay, can I put it?
Cool. Yeah, thank you for bringing them up though.
That's okay. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
he's basically worked out.
No, this is
Oh, that's pretty blue.
This was like, these don't take the long to do. With the red one?
I'll send it to her. Thank you.
Lord, protect the mind, Joshua, all these scriptural texts and laws and seasonal things that say, whose understanding shines forth.
The sun, and clouded by clouds or traces of who teaches and leads the way to the place of love of God for his only Son.
All creatures caught in the prison of the sun,
confused in the
darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering.
You who dragon thunder proclamation arouses us to the strip of our delusions and frees us from the fine chains of our karma. Whose powerful sword of wisdom hews down
Suffering wherever its sprouts appears, clearing away the darkness of holy ignorance. I entreat you, O my Joshua,
with 112 marks for Buddha, who has completed the 10 stages, achieving the highest perfection, who has been pure from the beginning.
O my Joshua, loving one, will you bring such a wisdom, illuminate the darkness and close the mind? Intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, and insight into the Buddha's words and the texts that explain them.
Offering a short mandala.
Sangye Shidu Mite Uwa Yiro Kunanda Shila Chobasho Guru Ragamana Gamneyataya Sanji Chanan Soji Chananga Chanchu Badu Dani Josuchi Dani Chuchi Betonambi Rolam Penshi Sanji Jogara Shu Sanji Chanan Soji Chananga Chanchu Badu Dani Josuchi Dani Chuchi Betonambi Rolam Penshi Sanji Jogara Shu Sanji Chanan Soji Chananga Chanchu Badu Dani Josuchi Dagi Chushi Bibi Tongi Rola Penche Sanji Jogara Shu Kangi Tuzini Zonye Tawa Tamji Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Dunze Kodum Kela Chanse Lo Lama Sangye Lama Shute Shi Lama Gedunre Kungi Je Olama Te Lama Good morning, everyone. It's okay. Tambo, teaching song that the British has a lot. Many things like this, dreaming things like this, some of the customers, just nothing was right. Gee. Nothing was there. And the sunny, which is over us, right. So Geshe thought of doing some recitation of Medicine Buddha mantras and Tarav's mantra for the sake of those of us who are a little bit sick. I wanted to say off our face, but probably that's not the right. Yeah, that's probably not the right way to say it. A little bit sick. Yeah. All right. So, but maybe we're not going to do it today. Maybe we're going to do it tomorrow. But some of the things are Nipa Zopa Pongwa la Sun Shen Rang la Penshi tu Mutepa Pangpa Kang Rang Shen la Nuje tu Mutepa Pangpa Pen Doje la Loba Chupa Kapa was Tambo Rang Shen la Penshi tu Mutepa Pangpa ni Wana Shen Ki Digen Chebe Da Kenya Wandro Yoro Shen Lang Se In going back to the text and picking up from what we said yesterday, we have been looking at the third point in the section that covers the cultivation of the patience that pays no heed to those who cause harm. Reflecting on unwanted occurrences being due to one's own fault began with covering the actual meaning, and today we're going to begin with abandoning objections. So some might raise objections to the way that Shantideva explained the way of cultivating patience in reflecting on unwanted occurrences being due to one's own fault. So there are 3 points in that section. Rejecting that it is invalid for others to do something that benefits us, rejecting that it is invalid for us to bring harm upon others, and arresting ingratitude towards those who act beneficially. Let's begin with the first 2 lines in verse 50. And before we read through them, Geshe Rinchen posits an argument. An argument here. He says, do I then not also go to the low realms due to the conditions of the negativity of others?
Tirda Rata Pena Mishambajiki and Suzula Kondo Sachi and Diva Soundi Kontru Sazaki Mikindi Rani Chigiros Tichidi and Rani Layang and Niba Yomarives. Ra the Niba Niba Diwangi Chikta Nivakia Tundrukia Ta and Kanji The
question that is raised at this point in the text in raising objection to Shantideva's prior explanation is saying that when we look at the observed condition for the anger of the other person. So suppose that another person is getting angry at me. So I'm the observed condition of their anger. On account of being their observed condition, am I not creating a negativity that will result in miserable states of existence for me? Will I not take a rebirth in a hell realm and the like due to being the observed condition of their anger?
that dig landlaya Kade Dala Sambai Yonde Yonanyamundus. That dig Zuba dig landlaya or Tintrogoras.
Shantideva says in replying to that, if I have the excellent quality of thought, I will not go to hell.
That the Karsungo Islam, Tachida Modon Korda Tawski Remudas, Pena Karsungo Islam, Digba Migiva Kandish Migivi, Neva Kandish Savaya, Neva Digi, Ken Neva Digi, you or Dindigi, Chetangi, you the Ken said, Ginjig Dania, Jichigla Jenny, you the Kendi. And use Leondi, Piggy, Zule Kodea, Gains Leondi, and Chancellor Kodea, the Rigi Chagdos, Tenza, Gul Telea, in Jimmy Chiki, and Gonong di, Gonong Roach, Goenza, and Shengi Rana, Condrosavi, Country Candy, Digby Candy, Sosu Chigi and the Youngs, Teleteni, Sosulaya, Digba Yonda Moyondi, and Rangis.
The section is not all too complicated, Geshe feels. What Shantideva says here is, when we look at the working of karma, which involves with the working of causes and conditions, when you look at the way that something is produced by cause and conditions, the cause is taken to be the primary thing, and the conditions are the branches or the secondary things that assist production. So in relation to the working of karma, when we look at the cause, the main thing, and then the secondary thing that come together in order to produce a result, the motivational force in producing a certain result is the main cause, which means that the motivation is included within the cause, and then there are some other contributing conditions that come together in the working of karma. So Shantideva answers that query, that again asks, if I'm acting as an observed condition for the arisal of anger, am I not creating a negativity that will result in taking a birth in a miserable state of existence, such as the hell. Shantideva says, well, you have to check your motivation. That's the primary thing. If your motivation is a positive motivation, a virtuous motivation, that will not come to pass.
re kanji ani shengi khongro sawi ta chi digba sawi kin chi yana yang an di ge rang la ya chi ani khongro sangin thela ya ani chi bi ta nam gyu du je tyang di di chogla ya khe chi ni ani chi sobi nyamne le soba ani ngo su che tu ya ge kogo re wa nyam ge ani ko ho sambu ye ge to sobi nyamne le ju ba na ani jen kongru kenchi yana ya ani rani ya sebi yonding toki ani nyeba sag mares tin nami ani nyeba la sobala drogo di yung mares ro yung mares
And since creating a fault depends on one's motivation mainly, that's the main factor. Shantideva says here, suppose that someone is getting angry at you. But, and although you can say that you're an observed condition for the anger, still, if you take that adverse condition and you befriend that in the sense that you take that as something that assists your spiritual practice and you use that for the cultivation of patience, you use that in order to develop a positive motivation, focusing on the person that is getting angry at you. You're sustaining a virtuous state of mind. And as such, even though you might say that you're the observed condition for the anger of the other person, you do not accumulate a fault in that situation. You will not be born in a hellish state of existence on that account.
Terdinza zavi namola ya tindigi sobi nyamning yonde yona nyawa drogma res laundi len la ya shengi kongru ken cheba yana rana ya nyeba yore ves lana nyeba yor mares kaptu la ya ta chen sungu mundas ketzi ini tindigi kongru len la ya ani chik sobi nyamne chetu ba yana ken chi yor mares di ma tuwa ani kongru len la ya kongru seba yana ani chikpa chagres ta kondro sangin dang kondro sasaga yul nikala ya ani digpa saya ki ken chikpa chadro ganza niba yoba chikpa chadro res right.
When Shantideva says here that it depends upon your thought or your attitude, in that if there is a positive quality, you will not go to hell, the type of answer that it gives is not coming down on a certain position unanimously. It's not that he's saying that if someone is getting angry at you, you definitely will not go to hell. What he says is that if you can practice patience in that situation, if you develop a positive state of mind, if you cultivate patience, you'll not be creating a fault. That will not constitute a negativity. But if you respond to anger with getting angry at that person, then you accumulate a negativity. Then your way of behaving is faulty. So again, looking at this verse, he says, if I have the excellent quality of thought, I will not go to hell.
No.
So even if you're able to have an interaction, practice patience, and it's beneficial for your mind, if you're creating conditions for someone to get angry and for them to, as 48 says, go into a hellish existence, then is it better for you to minimize your interactions with others in case they create the causes for themselves to go to hellish states of existence?
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to repeat the question for the people at home who might not have had it. So suppose that, so Shantideva says here that if you cultivate patience, if you have this virtuous state of mind, when someone is getting angry at you, you're not creating a negativity that will result in your hellish state of existence. But then in following up from the previous verses, like for example, verse 48, you can say that you still act as a condition for that person creating negativity. And that being the case, if you act as a condition for that person creating a negativity, resulting in, for them, miserable states of existence, is it better that you minimize your contact with that person, in that kind of you try to avoid being a condition for the creation of negativity? Yeah. Tadila Shangi sosola kondrosawa inarwa. Ani ran soba kombaina. Kunlong gewachi kyomwaina. So dikasagi mare, nyabasagi mares. Nyawala drogi mares in lagirwa. Ine nyama shiwale kare sumbananshin. Koranzo paro bo midi kondro sandi. Nyaba sawaina dilatene dikpa mi gewa sawaina ani konzo nyawa dila sopa nyansu sumna drogi nyanga toa jezon dikpa nyaba sa di kengi soso chegerwa jezon soso ken chewaina shenla jawa masowaina ken la ma drogi chedo konzo la jawa masowaina Rimbola join Dendechina Yagamarves.
Kazata Suzuki million Jawmachi, million Jawchevana, and me Kondusas Yul Chadores. In the mission, Divasa Dores. In the and in Jawmach in the Yardos.
Condosan de la Jamaso and I am in the Kim Marjoala.
That the chok chick ni Tevaina, and then the Ginzi over Taujutungoras, chok chicken Tevana. In the end, that on the chok she was. Chok she deon in the deon, the candy Ginzen Chedu, or Delia, Durgodas, the Kaduinia, and it Gobachevata, Garja Chonch Yovana, and it Garja di mixing of his chadores.
What you said is correct if you look at it from one perspective. From one perspective, as you said, if you're acting as a condition for someone's faults or negativities, if there's a way of avoiding becoming an object of their anger, a condition for their anger, that's a good way of dealing with that. But then in reality, Geshe says that you have also to look at that from other perspectives, from other directions. We have 4 directions. On top of that, we can add below, above and below. So when you look at that sentence from other perspectives, from other directions, sometimes you discover that there is a purpose in acting as a certain condition rather than avoiding it. So you have to, sometimes in certain situations, to look at what is the prohibition in acting in a certain way, or what's the necessity, the purpose in behaving in that way, and then decide the best course of action.
This is does. Pena ngala pe javanas, Tangan double deoras, double deor mitsama me gatamba, and it's ngala gawata, ngal never saw in Yomaras. Kashikashi, now Montrose Sigores, Inaya, and a Manshichi, the Manshichi, the patient just love to rest, Galaya Gawayavata, and meet this Pentoviava, teaching that Dini Durgo does, Michini Jigun teaching one Tambaino, T. Gooden Jumasons, that didn't also resra, Devachi said.
Just to illustrate that, Geshe says that, for example, he applies it to himself. So, he's been living here. In that sense, it has to be here. Now, we have quite a few people that come here to teachings to partake of different activities, and it is likely that some people are not happy with Geshe, or that they wouldn't like him. It is not to say that it's very unpopular here. Geshe feels that still, most people will probably be happy with what he does here and so forth. But it is still possible that some are not only happy. So then, if he thinks that I'm acting as a condition for those unhappy people, and therefore it's better for me to live, then the people that are benefiting from the teachings, the people that are benefiting from what he's doing here, will stand to lose. So in that sense, Geshe says that this is just a way of looking at how in a certain situation you have to look at what is the prohibition, what is the necessity of acting in a certain way, and then make your own decision according to that.
These are Java Chigoras, that Java the Injiminchi, Pena Meganga Jimbaina, Suzule, Meganga Jimbaina, meet the number Tamjini, Suzu, and Yacha Janaja from the Kyun Tungu Veslan, the Lapto Maros, Ra. Nanzu Michilia, Pena Suzu Michilia, Nandru Nevaina, meet the Gichi, Lunga Yusum, meet the Gichi. Java Tamchi, and Mandigo Tungu Veslana, Tungu Maros. Chow Mambuchi, any leg which Antonia Joros. These are and the Choni, any Pendo do to ya Yunguros, there are.
But also, in looking at the connection and the relationships that we have with others, it is possible that someone might have a sense of dislike towards us, but it doesn't mean that they see all of our actions, our activities as faulty. So it is possible that in a certain interaction that we have with another person, they will be displeased with us. But still, when they consider our physical, verbal, and mental actions, they might find some of them positive. So then the situation becomes more complicated. It is likely that even within a certain situation that is a little bit tense, when you have some sense of animosity happening, it doesn't mean that the person will see you as a negative person in a 100% way. Could be that they still find some qualities or some good things about you.
They most Kondo Sangin the Imbania, Medelia, Pan Jevachin, Sobagomni, any Pan Jevachivana, Kaptu Ma Kondo Shituyach, Pasha Juji, Kondo Ma Shituyach, Ra, India Chituros.
But suppose that someone is getting angry at you. Just a second. Dewa Chesna, Kozo Dewa Maso,
Consul Java Chevan, Kondo Sangin, Javachin, Sobagom, Geshe.
Suppose that someone is getting angry at you, and you're first of all able to practice patience, but you also deliberately seek a connection with that person in order to try to explain the situation, to make it clearer, so that you'll find a way of influencing their mind and helping them to get rid of their anger. So that's also a possible way of acting.
They pick up the shoot, Tabu shoot, say the Yovana, and this you know, that Yagayoros, Yagayoros, shooting Kondo say the Yona, and Nenalaya, Numlu, Shana Pesagros.
But in certain situation, when the person that is angry with you is livid, right? If the anger is so intense, in those situations, it might be better that you step a little bit back. Otherwise, if a person is completely enraged with you, and you're deliberately trying to contact them, it could be like adding some more fuel into the fire, right? So, certain situation, it might be better to just step back.
Gade dala di pentanyam sambi yon ten sobayona danyewa mudosi digba taban gyuros.
To answer that, Shantideva says, gets the Dhammarinchen expansion, Deva's answer. If one has the quality of the thought of patience, they benefit me, then one will not go to the lower realms, but purify negativities. All right, so there was another question that Matt Casey sent me. I'll put it on the screen, just Zoom, just a second. All right, so So Shantideva states in verses 46 and 47, for example, just like the guardians of hell and the forest of salt leaves, so this is produced by my actions, at what should I be angry? Having been instigated by my own actions, those who cause me harm come into being. If due to this they should proceed to sentient beings, am I not destroying them? Shantideva identifies the cause of harm to us by others to be our own karma, implying that there is no volitional or karmic contribution by the other. In contrast, he encourages us to be volitional, to use volitional control to cultivate patience rather than being swept away by our own afflictions and karma. It would seem to me that the occurrence of harm to us by another is a complex interaction of our own karma and volition together with the karma and volition of the other person. Just as Shantideva is placing more emphasis on the contribution of our own karma and volition rather than also considering the karma and volition of the other, because we are once studying the Dharma and being encouraged to take responsibility to change the habitual karmic stream. Dila Nyamarwa, Dila Dagi Legi Kujin, Dala Nujin Namju Ted Sashtua, Dinguna Pena Nyawa Soma Tanja. Chazandila Shiwale Karesam Baresena. Sosola Nobachik Chewa Inarwa, de Su Chevares, Rangi Suvares, Rangi Lela Jumbarwas, Rangi Lela Jumbarese, the Parope Nue Jendi, Ran Lela Ran Lelaten Jumbares in Sashtua.
Parve su never chill.
Detola Sound Town Inarwa, Dilla Shiole Karla Karisum Gioresana. Detsama Sosolela Lelaten Jumbares. Soso lela tena jumbarese di parupo nuba chendi la konso kuranso leyan di yorwas konso samba yorwas chezan kabdi la shiwale soso lela tena jumbarese di la parupo di la lela juto peshe yosa marendo do dene chi sungi dosa chezan de kane china konso leyan sagires rangi leyan sagires Tadi Kenlen Gograwa. Chezan in a Halam Quran, Shiwale de la Karesum Yoresena, Lojongi, Nyamlen Shishan is Nyamlen Kanechi Chevioresena, Paropo Ledi Tola, Samlo Shedama Tamboje, so Lela Tene.
This is got this corner story. Then sick dig. Shoga shipchi shedu da shebding tunda testi true me draw something to the chotang tenra. Tandang never chinging paraboti kanza di and Nanzu Lelteni, Suzu Lelteni, Chores Lagomares. Parabe Rana never chivati. Parabe Rana never chivni, Chixuzolaya, Magiba Yonjora. Di Ranki Lelten Chores.
In a Konzobena Parulpo Midi Sosola never choina, not so Dumbaina, Chichuina. Rangi Konzo Dumba di Lerwa. Chezan Soso Lela Teni Jumbarves, Console Sagimarves, then
Kunzu Lesagore, Susu Lelten Chores. Did they own Chorada?
So then looking at verses 46 and 47, Geshe says that there is a danger that we might misunderstand them or not get the absolutely correct understanding of them. So then in case of someone getting angry with us and harming us, here Shantideva is not saying that the person themselves, the other person, came into being and depends upon our karma. The injury came into being and depends upon our karma. So you have another person. They're creating an action, taking an action that is harmful to us. So the harm that is visited upon us arises in defense upon our karma. So Shantideva says here, who created that injury? It arose because of our own karma. So then in my conversation with Geshe, I said, but if that injury arose and depends upon our karma, it means that there is a person, the other person, they're acting in a certain way. This is called an action. So is their action arising and depends upon our karma? Or would you say that they are creating their own karma, but also it arises and depends upon our karma? Well, Geshe says that there is a participation of both our karma and the other person's karma, right? So they're creating a harmful action. So of course they also accumulate a negative action.
Chidanta lesul samji mekyavare sayadi tindi chagores. Pena nganzu delia mi chuchonga zom yorasta. Mi chuchonga dige pigi tachi samalo ta manche ani ya khalon degore ta ngani ma khalon degoras. Ta amana ani ngal tagoremna kegyul tagoras. Ta chile devi se 아니 탐제 로그 직번 통과를 했으나 통과를 왔어. 다시 유드 찍이네야 직번 통과를 왔어. 디 망통에 대한 소수레도 다레스라.
The modes of karma are said to be inconceivable. They're said to be inconceivable in illustrating it in the following way. So here in this space, we have, let's say, 10 or 15 people coming together. And the way that those teachings are conducted is that there is an audience sitting here, and Geshe and I are sitting here, right? So we're facing each other. We're seeing each other, which means that we're acting as each other's objects. But in acting as somebody else's object, is it that everyone sees us exactly in the same way? Are we acting as someone else's object exactly in the same way? It is possible, it is very likely that we see each other, we observe each other in a variety of ways. But it's not that we view each other, that we see each other always exactly in the same way.
That do she on the kashi, Jidam Tami Kogo Denia, Kashi Semlia should pengore. Kashik Semlia, Tezam Pengmari, Kashik Eshe di share di Namondro Yosiras.
And in this meeting here, Geshe is speaking and we are listening to what Geshe is saying. So it is possible that for some of us, it's really helpful. For some others, not helpful at all. And there could be also someone that would be completely displeased with what Geshe is saying. All of those three ways of reacting to Geshe's teachings are possible, right?
And Java Yobani, Yam Zombadi, and Lake talking Zombans, Java Yatajaras, the inner Le Mandra. These are that some of the less subscribe Tolia, Sheguchona, the Sunning Sambachibuina, and soon to the cover of us. Let it touch to Namja Pay, Onsum Tongi, Sanji Power Moto Mason with us, but this is the cover of us.
So although we will interact with what Geshe is saying in a variety of ways, still from the point of view of Geshe, his motivation is the same motivation. His body language, the way that he expresses himself is exactly in the same way. And still, it is received in a variety of ways. So we can say that all of us come here together. We meet here as a group to listen to Geshe's teachings, and as such, you can say that we have some karma that played out in allowed us to meet here today as a group and to listen to teachings from Geshe. However, the way that those teachings are received or listened to is also different, and that also accords with our individual karma. So it's hard then to understand in a really precise way the working of karma. In that sense, it is said that the modes of karma are inconceivable, to the point in which only an Arya Buddha knows all the ins and outs, all the coarse and subtle workings of karma.
These are the colors, Dodo, the Kondro Sangin, Rana and Kondro Sangin Digi, Sangin Digi, Kondro Kion Digi, Lemegiwaji, Gajajatam Sagores. They are Susula Kondro, Susula never change Pigia. They are Dia Susu Leg Doki, Yimba di Karesana, Kondro Sangin Midi, and Mintonso Lolaya, Kondro Sagio Maras. Mintonselaya. Never chigia maras, Korangilam Kondriana, Hinea, and Rangelaya, Nuji Chigua, Gunze Karens, the Rangil of Kiris, Dilla was raw.
So what Shantideva is saying here is that the person is getting angry at us. So Geshe says that, first of all, the person that is getting angry at us and working in ways that are harmful to us, the person is accumulating karma. They are creating actions, they are accumulating actions. What it says here is that, but you also have to look at it from your own perspective. So there is some harm that you experience. The person is harming you. The person is behaving in a negative way towards you. That also came into being, that arose, depends upon your karma. So it's not just merely by another person seeing you, there's harm that you experience, or there's something that occurs. It's not that it just depends upon the way that the person is seeing you. A certain situation also arises due to your own karma. So when another person is seeing you, getting angry at you, they're harming you and so forth, it is also because of actions that you have created before.
Doesn't mean that if when somebody is harming you, you consume in a way your karma, so your past reaction are consumed. So is that sounds like a positive thing, because you consume so every harm what you get, that means it's a good thing, that because consume your karma, so you are in a state of better in a way, because your karma from the past is consumed.
All right.
Somebody harming you.
Yeah. 재산 쿠란기 바로코 미 셴바기 소소라 누바초 이나라 소소 렐라테네 줌바 레슬라이나얀 딜라테네 소소 레디 타용기레 산노타와나 디 야워 야가치 데네스 직산노타 여러베스 레디파디 타도게레스 산노타나 디게레베스
디디 껴 함이기다 간지 딘디게 참만지고 총에 디기 유 rangi sayo ba jaji jata mares tinda ta digi ani namindi ta thakson nyambi loki towana shuji pendo yor sonrada ro.
Yeah, certainly you can think about it like that, and it's good to think about it like that. So we have accumulated negative actions in the past. When we experience injury that is inflicted upon us by another, we can think that now I'm experiencing the fruition of my past accumulated negative actions, and thereby they become purified.
Kaisana nganzugi kewa thoma meba ni chongati ziyoras kewa thoma meba chongdigi le tachi tamebachi chamebachi le tukja sayobatia yaji yatambaris and le titamchi Jebu Dungati, Nyon Sambarevasna, Zawani Maravas. That Ditamchi again, Jebu the Tuchil and Yongo Chomaina, then on to serve to get Zawani that major Chagras raw. These are that D, Jimbe Chiki, and Ken Chunjunji Toki, and the Tadrach, Suzuki, Samu Tansu, Yahuji Tubaina, and Ken Chunjunji Toki, Le Mambu Shuji Saja, Jebu the Tadraji. 고 댐비 또지 용구연자 두소 삼토바는 쇼지 팬도 용거서레스로
we've been here since time without beginning and up until now. And being around since time without beginning, we've already created limitless actions, countless actions countless negativities we've already done and we've already accumulated. And it's not that the countless negativities that we have accumulated since time without beginning and up until now will all ripen at the same time. It's not that they will be experienced all at the same time. That will occur sequentially, bit by bit. So when conditions come together, there comes a time for negativities done in the past to be experienced. That occurs when conditions come together. So when there is a small or simple condition that gives rise to the experience of a certain negative action that was done before, when that small condition is created, we can feel also relieved or happy about it, thinking that at least that negative action is not purified. That occurs due to the power of karma. So before we continue with that, then Jason is also saying, when people get angry at us and help us to practice, although they are creating negative karma, do they possibly get some good karma by indirectly helping us to become enlightened? Jason, parupo yandi shembe kondosa ne ngatsolo numba cheo inarwa ni konso dikba migewas chenayan de chapchi du dunyam layan konso le gawachi sayon sigirbes le kabochi sayon sigirbes pe kainsana konso novelatne ne ngatso soba kombayina ani diratene tamala chanchuko pan toy yorwas chezan kesi konso ngatso la nova chene ngatso soba kombayina yan konso gawa sayon sigirbes.
That did Kakudovski. Tu Taranaya, Legavasa said, Chatang and Kakudovs restaurant. Kansanang Le Gava the Megiva said, Konulaya, Shegoras, Ra. The Konung Tony Shavaina, and did say, Control Bashik Jimatobi. Any give you colon gesam jig, then maybe come yon choras raw.
It is hard to accept that when another person is getting angry at us. If we practice patience, they also accumulate positive karma because we practice patience. It is hard to accept that because first off, to determine a certain action to be virtuous or non-virtuous, it has to depend upon one's motivation. So if someone is getting angry at us, we can assume that the motivation is not virtuous. That it's not that they have a virtuous way of getting angry at us. Is it possible for that person to have both a non-virtuous motivation with respect to that, and at the same time, virtuous intention towards us?
The Yinaya Kaukolaya Kasota Migiva Yamai gewa maingi lumating let this away dos ra dikalia ani gesam want kyogo mundo migiwese want kyogo mundas pena papa kochung singidi nima ani pakpi gewalim bikalia ani chitus ani chodenjilia kora chikteni digi tarbi sabench shab lorji sungdas ra.
It is possible, though, with some non-predicted states of mind to accumulate virtue, in the sense that your mind is neither virtue, your state of mind is neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. It is therefore neutral, or that which was not indicated. It is still possible in a certain scenario for virtuous actions to be accumulated. Like, for example, there is a story that is told about Arya Kochung, that's his name in Tibetan, Kochung, that was born as a pig in one of his previous lifetime and was taken around a stupa. It is said that in depends upon that, they have placed some virtues on the mind stream.
Tarbi sabi res songrada sanjigi an kenan gilaya taba chantungi geza dus kansan kenan tu tindi jilaya ani choden jilaya koraj tesha digi karswa tachi gezi sabi sechi kenan gilaya dus songinza diganzu kelen gogros ra.
So in that story, it was said that this person has placed roots of virtue that were compatible with liberation upon the mind stream. This is a seed that is a root of virtue. So we have a scriptural source that does attest to the possibility of such scenario.
Tinza dinanshingi pigilaya michi kondo tabu shuchi nangzule never chikabdilaya neki sobi nyamne chetuba na ani ranglaya pembatan kondo sangin delaya ani chik pendo yonsik sarwas ra digi ani kondo sasa yul di suzugi never chechi di toki pashomagi ani sobokom sobi nyamne labuchile tenita chanjuk tibita chik ani saben kyabajenji sosol tenne shawanza digi toki ta susu gilaya kasota ani chik tarbi saben set ro gewara mayna tarbi saben kanji jema digi saben delaya ani gebi gi kaluki ondi gebi saben ya rotu yachik saben dindi sha chogo sages
저는 talbe saboina gewain be makabden la.
yes kansan di ngazu game ge zedi konon ton showers lavada dindi lave on tan lavardangi.
All right, so before I translate that section, I'll just go back to the previous section and kind of say it again, just to make sure that I say it precisely, or more precise than before. So, in that story of that Arya being, in his previous life, he went around the stupa. What he placed upon his mind was a seed for liberation. So here I'm not saying a root of virtue, it's just placed on his mind stream a seed for liberation. Now Geshe said that, so imagine the following scenario. Someone is getting angry at you. You're conditioned by their getting angry at you, and you practice patience. When you cultivate patience, it is a contributing factor for your own enlightenment. So you're placing some roots of virtue upon your mind stream for the attainment of enlightenment. And the person that is getting angry at you, you could say that they've played a role. They act as a condition for you placing some roots of virtue upon your mind stream for the attainment of enlightenment. Which means that you can say that they're doing something positive to you. So Geshe says that therefore you could say that they place seeds for liberation upon the mind stream. So Geshe, you're saying that if it's a seed of virtue, if it's a seed of liberation, it's not necessarily virtue. Geshe says that for the time being, he will take this position that if it's a seed for liberation, it's not necessarily virtue.
There's a prayer that says, no matter whether there's a negative or a positive situation with others, may it be a cause for their enlightenment, like may I become a cause for their enlightenment. Would you say that that may happen in that situation if you've made that prayer? Whatever negative or positive connection I have with that person, may it be a cause for their enlightenment.
So there's a prayer that says that no matter what the situation is, negative or positive, may I act as a cause for others' enlightenment, right? So you have a certain interaction with another, regardless of how it goes in a positive way or negative way. The prayer says, may I become a cause for their enlightenment. So could you say that because of this prayer, then such a situation can occur? Dila kandunchi la karesung yoresena neso yado lama tene shengi chanchu gi chedu soso gyu naran gyu la doye gi melan yosin lochi rangi gyu
rangi chanju te gyu
ran gyu to watch gyu chebarwa so chezan dis shengi soso la neba chewaina yabo chewaina dilama tene
rangi chanju te gyu ro shose tagara yoras
chezan ditola santawa inarwa chezan dende molam tagaran di chewaina paru po soso la yabo chewaina neba chewaina molam dila tene dito gi Franco chanju go pangi gyo yorves
지금 또 이제 가버려도 왔다. 당한도 레드 타시죠. 싱금면서 더디 랍도가 가버려도 왔어. 당이 단지 가르상 거였으라나. 난주 심자타 지금 교래야. 아니 지 상기식. 라. 난주 샘 아니 넘버 탐지 김비 이시 운 결혼식 차지 열었어. 더디 사빙 조르지라다. 니바지어라스. 샘디 넘버 탐지 김비 이시 응원규 교롱 니비 찾아라스 디 공랑게 뛰고 말다 공랑 마드디 먼저 게 아니 게미기 로마덴 숨시비기 아니 게와 마레 미게 마레 로마테 마레스
사분데
사비스 니바티 토마메벤 아니 샘사리 기차 남긴 규롱 니바져라 어디
lumate insen shagimal
단데 디 지상에 게임기 로마데 송고 남게 로마데 생이디 콜호 디솜도 콜호로 자고라 콜호 된 시고라 단데 딜 콜호 스키요 말아
So Geshe says that, to begin with, in answering your question, it is hard to accept that simply making such a prayer would determine whether that indeed acts as a cause for others' enlightenment. So this aspirational prayer is good, but just to think that simply depending upon that will come to pass, as the prayer says, is quite hard. Still keeping in mind that the working of karma are inconceivable for us, so it's hard really to come down on a conclusive decision that would definitely be the case. All of us have Buddha lineage. All sentient beings have Buddha lineage in the mind stream. All of us have the Buddha lineage that is a seed for a Buddha's omniscient exalted knowledge, the one that is a knower of all aspects. All of us have the potential to attain a Buddha's exalted knowledge, an omniscient exalted knowledge. So that potential is there, and the potential does not depend upon motivation. since it does not depend upon motivation, it is there. We do have the Buddha lineage, the potential is there. Geshe says that you cannot say that it is virtuous or non-virtuous or even neutral. It does not depend upon motivation, it is there.
Tanda sharab labde di shengi yagdu kharchene yang sosu gi malam gyarni sosu nam kingi ani nama tamji kingi kompon toya gyur yachi yorwas the di yorwas ra
So. In a shen.
Shengi nam kento gyur sayadita ani kabdula pa kawure wasta.
So then going back to Sharab's question, regardless of what the situation is, if it's good or bad, if others help us or harm us, may I become a cause for enlightenment? Well, you can certainly use that in order to cultivate the cause for your own enlightenment. But as for others' enlightenment, here you cannot really give a conclusive answer. You can make that aspiration, but whether or not simply depending upon that aspiration, you become a cause for others' enlightenment, that's harder to accept.
Tandra ngi di thengmul tanda shiping shigyabare chiglaya chiksong da sangelaya kyavyu sangelaya ani jewa samba chebayna ani gobalabo chiyaba jewa duksan shabayna ani chokjin gobalabo chiyaba chik ra khod ya ni jewa chisa yul kiu khabar chinjinza telaya jewa cheba chamchiki ani and tig jebu mombalaya ani
그게 다른 천전화 된 데스네 야 되나 선생님은 지금 조였어.
디요. 띵스 유 참스 다지. 디디도 진짜 다지 렌 차신 차와 시에디 가고 싶으시다.
It is hard to understand all the situation with respect to karma, all the different levels of reality, even the subtle level of reality with respect to the working of karma. Earlier on, we encountered a verse that says, when others interact with the Buddha in a positive way, that acts as a positive cause. But even if they relate to a Buddha in a negative way, if they disparage a Buddha and so forth, simply by creating a contact with a Buddha, that is also a positive thing. Do you remember that we've covered it in verse? It was in this text, right? So even when some encounter a Buddha, relate or creates a certain connection with the Buddha, and the creation is not a positive one from the very get-go, still there's a way of looking at it from a positive side of creating a contact with the Buddha. So this point, you can say, reaffirms that statement that the working of karma is so hard to understand.
So there's hope for the person who stole the Buddha statue from my backyard 30 years ago?
I'm not sure. Quran yama lo sunchus kuna michi kosane sangi kunja kumachi gyabdwa. Tasha mi dila rewa yo service.
Yes, jada di kumoku di bajer di sanji ko dendeshi vi gyachi yon chogro aser.
Yeah, I guess I said that jokingly that certainly there is hope for that person. You know, of course, stealing something from your Buddha statue is a negative action, but inviting a Buddha statue to reside in their possession is a positive thing.
Chigjina kogi kyaran kudi pigi tachi tesang keje shedana ya kunyin ba ran chimbo resa chi tinji kolon kenada kolon di number tamjen sorburo jire dos taya koran pigi sanji kundala ya kan sanji le deba shukchita kunda mara kyaran koma javena ni sorburo jire dos.
So suppose that someone is looking at a statue at your backyard and think that looks like an antique. If I get it and sell it on the market, I will get a lot of money. It looks like a valuable thing. That's definitely a negative or a polluted attitude. But if that person is motivated by faith, they have no other way of obtaining a statue, and they really think that that's such a virtuous thing. May I have such virtuous thing in my possession? Geshe says that maybe you can say that they accumulate both positive and negative action. You have a combination of two. Of course, Geshe says that jokingly, right? How come? Okay. Okay. So we will leave the text here for now. You have probably something to discuss with Geshe. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we'll just leave the text here for today. Di nyu da lama samye dugyune doa chikamaru de salagopa shu Rinpoche magye pano kibyuchi kyebanya bame pai gone gondo pewa shu Kowe shinkane pengande wa malu juwe Chenre siwa tenzi gyatso shape sike wado tengyo Sonjo jupe lan cheche sanze kochen tenyo Chama pemo tenzi gyatso la sowa depso shenyo lodro Jozo shanshi jangun yawe Tenzin gobe konso do proboze Chosun kowe le mantudu Pata sotuje kondo shaten sho.
Thank you. 당근은 그 제가 쉬다 가르나 또 중요한 그 좋은 좀 계제시 군다도 니라 진짜